Helen Hardy is a Year 4 teacher in Plymouth.
Together.
To enliven her weekly science investigations, Helen's incorporated a wide variety of uses of ICT into her lessons to introduce and illustrate each challenge.
Mrs. Hardy's got a problem. Mrs. Hardy, have you drunk your cup of tea today?
No, I haven't. It's probably still on the side. It's probably cold by now.
In her last science lesson, some of her pupils made a film to set up the challenge for this week's science investigation.
Mrs. Hardy, it's gone cold. You can't drink it now.
That's nothing new, is it? I said I normally drink it when it's cold.
Mrs. Hardy, is there any way that we can keep your cup of tea warm?
To begin this week's investigation, she plays back the film, establishing the question.
How are you going to keep my cup of tea warm so that I don't keep drinking cold cups of tea? Not nice.
Put it on the radiator.
Okay, we could put it on the radiator. Okay, who's got another idea?
Put it in a warm place.
That's a good idea, yes. A bit like our radiator, put it in a warm place. Jack, what was your idea?
Put a tea cosy on top of it.
There's a tea cosy on top of it. What's a tea cosy going to remind you of? What does it act like? Hannah?
A thermal insulator.
Girl, a thermal insulator. What could we use then to act like our tea cosy or our thermal insulator, right? And what question could we come up with? Abigail?
When we change the material of the thermal insulator, what will happen to the temperature of the cup of tea?
Okay, there's our question. That's what we're going to be investigating today.
For the next stage of the lesson, each group has a set of planning sheets. The pupils discuss what they could change to affect the temperature and what factors all the groups must keep the same in order to make it a fair test.
What else could we have? We've got jars. What will make a difference? If we change them. If the material of the thermal insulator was thicker or thinner.
One group plans their investigation on a laptop.
Type of material.
The groups must then turn their rough ideas into a clear plan.
What I'd like you to do now, right, is to take these and put them into our planning frame. So, when we change, what are we going to change? We're going to change the
Material of the thermal insulator.
The material of the thermal insulator.
On the laptop, rough ideas are easily transferred onto the final plan.
What we're going to do is we're going to drag all those onto our planning sheet. There.
Helen can display the laptop group's work on the interactive whiteboard for discussion with the class.
Right. Now we're going to have a look and see if your fair test agrees with the fair test that we have here. So this group, who were working on our laptop, said, we're going to change the type of material. Do you all agree? Yeah. We're going to measure the temperature of the tea. Do you all agree? Yeah. Okay. All right. Who'd like to come and find out what materials we are going to use? Who's going to come and reveal the materials today? Let's have Jack. Right. Come and pull the materials out that we are going to use as our thermal insulators today. No insulation. We need to see what's going to happen to our tea without any insulation. Okay, what else have we got, Jack? Okay, bring it right over here. Bubble wrap. The children really enjoy using the whiteboard, the ability to be able to write on it, to be able to erase questions or to pull things out of boxes. Is something that it means that they're active in the lesson. They're not just having something done to them, they're actually taking part in how the lesson progresses. So these are the three materials that we're going to use. Tin foil, newspaper and bubble wrap. Make a prediction. What do you think will happen Right. Which of these materials, if any, do you think is going to keep my tea from going cold?
Each group makes a prediction as to which material it thinks will work best.
As a group, then, I'd like you to come up with a consensus.
I predicted that the bubble wrap. So do I. Yeah, bubble wrap.
What do you girls think then?
We think the bubble wrap.
You think the bubble wrap? Who thinks the bubble wrap then? What's our consensus on this? So we've got 3 for bubble wrap.
We think the bubble wrap will work the best because it's warmer than tin foil and newspaper.
Helen collects all the group's predictions and writes them on the board.
Right. Now let's look then. So we have 1, 2, 3 groups for bubble wrap and 2 for tin foil. Okay. So as a class then, we're going to predict that the bubble wrap will keep the tea warmest.
Using a digital video camera, one group films its discussion on how it'll conduct the investigation.
What you're going to do, you're going to put the tin foil in, wrap it round the mug, put the thermometer in.
Once completed, Helen uses this to discuss methodology with the rest of the class.
Take it out.
Right, now this group, right, they've used the camera this morning to record their ideas. We're going to have a look and see if they got the same sort of ideas. Right, so we're going to watch some of the video that they've recorded.
Put the thermometer in and read it every 5 minutes.
Following this discussion, the pupils decide to record the temperature at 5-minute intervals.
Okay.
Of the 3 groups, each uses one of the thermal insulators: newspaper, tin foil or bubble wrap.
So could you show them how to wrap their cup?
We did that. That's how we do it.
A 4th group has the control mug with no insulation.
Do you need something to fasten?
These 4 groups will use thermometers and stopwatches to monitor temperature change over time.
What do we do when things are on the red mat? Okay.
Then, it's tea time.
How do you do it? Out of there. So you just press it to record it.
There's a 5th group using a slightly more sophisticated method to test all 3 materials and the control.
This group are going to use the data logger to measure the temperature of the tea in each of the 4 cups. This way, by using the data logger, they can actually see immediately how the temperature is dropping, hopefully. And also they can see immediately the difference between the 4 insulating materials. So we're going to log every 5 minutes. We're going to change this to 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And we're going to log it over 30 minutes. Somebody type 30 for me.
Using the ICT in the lesson makes them much more active learners. They're actually filming what they're doing. They're actually using the data logger to take temperature readings. They're recording it, presenting it immediately. They're much more active in what they're doing.
We've already set up our interval and our duration now, right? We can tell everybody else that we're ready to start, so they need to be ready to start. Okay? Now.
And off they go. It's important they record the initial temperature.
The temperature to start is 55 degrees.
5 minutes have passed and it's time to take the first reading.
Everybody record your temperature now.
After 5 minutes, the temperature is 52 degrees. 5 minutes have passed and it's 50 degrees Celsius.
The data logger is up and running. Connected via the laptop to the interactive whiteboard, the data can immediately be displayed for the group to look at.
There might be the changing up there. There might be. Yeah, it might be. Because they haven't really changed, have they?
While waiting for the next reading, the pupils take photographs of their equipment using a digital camera.
Can I take it? Yes.
Helen can easily load these onto the computer and print them out for the pupils to stick in their books. Annotating the photo gives them a clear, eye-catching record of their work.
Children enjoy using a camera. They like the idea of not having to write all the time. They like the idea of having pictures which they can then use to present their work.
This is the data logger, and these are the materials on the cups that we're using to see which material keeps it hot the most.
25 seconds till the next reading.
It's about time for the groups to take their last reading.
0 minutes was 52 degrees. Later on, 30 minutes was 38 degrees.
Okay, so we've finished recording the temperatures of the tea in our different insulated cups this afternoon. What we need to
With all the readings taken, Helen uses a graphing package to visually represent their findings on the interactive whiteboard.
We're going to call it drop-in temperature. We've got an x-axis, which is this axis, which is measuring the time in every 5 minutes. And here, this is the sensor temperature. What I'd like the sensor group to do is to come and put in the data.
The pupils enter their data into the laptop, which is then displayed on the whiteboard.
Jack, what was it for no installation at 15 minutes?
50.
50. At 20 minutes, Molly?
45.9.
45.9.
They enter the rest of their data into the program.
And the final reading?
37.5.
As they type in the data, it affects the shape of the graph on the whiteboard.
Can you see what's happening to our graph? Can you see what's happening? What can you see has happened already? What's happened already? Jessica? It's getting lower. The temperature is dropping. The interactive whiteboard allows the children to see immediately things that happen. The children can see the graphs in front of them. You try doing that with a paper flip chart, you don't get the same response or the same impact. Did you collect up the mugs and thermometers?
It's nearly the end of the investigation. The final thing the pupils need to do is examine their results to answer their question: which material is the best thermal insulator?
Which of these is the hottest temperature? The newspaper, right? What was the temperature of the newspaper? Okay, so using the sensors, the temperature was 41.7. So the material best at keeping my cup of tea warm is going to be what? Which material is going to be best, Sam?
Newspaper.
Okay, I've always wondered why fish and chip shops always wrap fish and chips in newspaper. Is it because they think it keeps it warmer? It's a thought.
With the investigation complete, what will the pupils do with their newfound knowledge?
After our investigation, this could keep your cup of tea warm.
Oh, thank you, Abigail. That's just what I need.
That's our conclusion.